Okay, today we'll be talking about apps. Okay, um, basically the apps use divide into 3 different stages. One is when you're doing planning or doing recce at the spot, or when you're on site shooting, and when you're doing post processing. Okay. Okay. When doing planning, I always look at the lunar calendar. Okay. Lunar calendar basically is the Chinese calendar of where you can know the first day of the month or the 15th day of the month. Okay, because on right, on the first day of the month is normally new moon, 15th day of the month is the full moon. So normally I will try to avoid 5 days before and 5 days after full moon. So at least I can have lesser moon pollution, moonlight pollution during the shoot. Okay, but sometimes with some moon is still okay. Okay? So other than using the lunar calendar to give me a rough gauge of which day to go to shoot, I also use the main moon phases app, okay, to check which phase is the moon at. Is it full moon or crescent moon or close to full moon kind of thing? So basically, these 2 apps you can find in Android apps only. Okay, iPhone do not have these 2 apps. Then there are a few apps that you can find in an iPhone. Okay, let me show you some screenshot of the apps. Okay, basically for this moon phase software, you can see that you can check when is the full moon easily with a glance in the calendar view. So you don't need to know the calendar, lunar calendar timing, all this. So just from here, you can just roughly glance, okay, which day I'm going to go. So typically, I will go between the 9th to maybe the 24th, these few timings. Okay, these are the best times really to get a better clear sky. Okay. Then you can see on the right, okay, this app also can tell you how high is the moon, okay, at different timing, or like which angle the moon is, which direction, north or south, east, or whichever. So even if it's new moon and the moon is within the Milky Way direction, it's pointless going to shoot, okay? Because the crescent moon will also pollute the sky and make the Milky Way not so visible. Okay? Then I also like to use this app frequently to check the golden hour. Hey, this app actually have a lot of things. You can check the golden hour, you can check the moon rise, moon set. Okay, even the moon, is it full moon or not full moon? Okay, you can even check at what time the moon rise, and you can even incorporate with the weather forecast, which is quite accurate. And when the moon sets, okay, and how high the moon will be, okay, and the blue hour. Because basically, if it's the blue hour, you may not be able to see the Milky Way so clearly as well. Okay? Then this one also have an option to see where the moon will be rising from and setting. So you can roughly at least know is it within the Milky Way direction. Okay. And this one you can find in iPhone. It's basically use it to check the calendar so that you can know, have a one glance which are the dates that you want to go to shoot. Okay, so this is as same as the previous app. Yeah? And this one, magic hour, can find in iPhone. Basically, you can know when the moon rise and when the moon set. Same as well. So basically, it's quite useful for checking where the moon is. Okay, and Photo Peel is also a very good app. We have everything inside, and one of the feature is to check the moon phase as well. Okay, so it has the same feature of having the calendar view. Plus, you can check where the moon rise and moon set. You can see the timing on the left on the light blue color. Okay, the light blue color basically shows you the moonrise direction and the timing, and the dark blue line will show you the moon set direction and timing. Okay. Then we can also check from here how the moon looks like, how bright it is. Okay, how many percent? Typically 65% still okay for me. Okay.
Bing Xiong,
yes.
Actually, the all these apps you basically use for planning. I understand that PhotoPills is actually a very intensive app, right? Because there's a lot of features inside there, and it's actually quite difficult to learn and to use.
Okay. I will share with you how to. I will do a simple demo in a while.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. I'll just go through the app. Yep.
Okay.
So basically during planning, I also, other than finding out where the moon is and how bright the moon is, and when it rise, when it set, okay, which direction it is, where it rise from and where it set. I also need to know the Milky Way direction as well, like where it will be and how high it will be at what time. Okay, so basically this is the two apps that I use very frequently, okay, to check the Milky Way for planning as well as on the site. So basically, PhotoPil, I just mentioned before, you can check the moon, you also can check the Milky Way. Okay, and Stellarium can do both as well. Okay, and Stellarium, they also have this desktop version. Let me show you the desktop version. This is the desktop version where you can actually download by Google for Stellarium. You can check from here. You can you can change the location where you are. Okay, currently I'm set to Indonesia. And you can set how high the elevation. Maybe you want to check the elevation of 2,000 meters. Okay. Okay. Then you can even check the time, set the timing, like when. Okay, for this one I set to somewhere next year. Hopefully you can travel by then. June 29. Around this timing, you see the Milky Way will be at this direction, this angle, this height. So it's a southeast direction. Okay. So if you were to change the timing, you can see that the thing moves. Okay? So you want to see how much it moves, you can go by the minutes, you can see it's moving up. Okay? So basically from here you can plan, okay, which angle it will be, which direction it will be at which time of the year, at which location. Okay? So you must know the place that you want to go and the direction. You can even see, like, tell you, yeah, you can see the constellation, can draw for you where the constellation will be. Okay, so you can see, okay, this one will be Scorpio, Sagittarius. Okay, so you can see the constellation from here as well. Okay, if you want to see the drawing, also can show you. Okay. It's very interesting app. It's useful for planning on the PC. You can do it on a Mac or a PC, no problem. Okay, right. Now let me. Any questions before I switch to the handphone app?
Do we have any questions from our friends here today? I think Beng Xiong, you have basically shown us very quickly of some of the apps that you can use in terms of the planning. So I would also just like to just add on. And I think that this PhotoPills is actually a very, very good app to use. The unfortunate thing is that it's quite difficult to learn. The learning curve is actually, I think that is quite steep. Okay, so if you go out onto the App Store, for example, to take a look at this application, you can actually find two versions for it. One is the PhotoPills free, and the other one is the one that you have to pay. I think it's over $10 to
14 plus.
How much is it?
14 plus.
$14.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, but if you are looking for just like one application to use, one app to use for your astrophotography, I think that is the one that you can look at, because the other thing is that there's also a lot of tutorials and also articles that you can read. And once you have subscribed to, or you have basically purchased the app, okay, they'll be sending you all these webinars that you can attend, and also a lot of articles and information on how you can use the application. Okay, so that will be something that you can really look forward to. Okay, yeah. So thank you, Beng Xiong. Let's move on.
Okay, let me share with you on the phone itself, the apps, on how really you can use. Okay, hope you can see my phone. Okay, so PhotoPil. Okay, once you go in, you can see all this stuff. Okay, if you go to Planner, you can see that you can set the location you want. Okay, where you want to check the things. And if you can see from here, bottom here, there's a there's a scrolling part. This part can scroll. Okay, you can see when the moon is, when the moon set, moonrise. The blue color line is the moon. Okay, and the white color dots that you see is actually the galactical center of Milky Way. So which means the Milky Way itself. So if you see that the Milky Way currently now, you see the one with the thicker line, this is where it rises and it's visible. Okay, where it's visible, you see on top, visible GC. GC means galactical center. Okay, so the time visible is actually from the time you can see on the screen itself and height, elevation. Okay, so from here you can see that it move up, rise, set down. Okay, so you can move the bottom scale to know where it is, and so you can plan exactly. See, now become blue hour, so become invisible already. So this photo pill really can tell you when is the best time to shoot between this timing to this timing. Okay? So this is one of the way you can shoot. See, then even if in the moon, you want to see the moon phases calendar, you can check on the moon.
Yeah.
So basically the moon here, you can see different day, any moon kind of thing. And you can even see your calendar, okay, which day it is. And over here, there's a lot of other features. Maybe I can just go through some simple one. Okay, for example, if you want to check, if you have not attended any of my sessions, you're not familiar with the settings, you don't know how long to expose the photo. Okay, you go to see spot stars. Okay, spot stars. Okay, from here, you could actually calculate, okay, the exposure time you need, okay, from here. So for example, you can set what's your camera focal length. Or maybe yours is 20 mm. And the camera that you choose is the 5D Mark IV. So it's a full frame sensor. So the time that you use, basically I use this 500 mm 500 rule. Okay, you can see that it's 25 seconds. So you can expose for 25 seconds without star trail. And the aperture you can use is f2.8. So if you use f4, so what will be the timing that you need? It's the same, but just the ISO will be different. Okay, so it mainly matters this focal length. So if you change to a different camera, for example, I change to a crop sensor camera, you'll notice that the timing changed to 15 seconds, which means with a crop sensor, you need to expose shorter timing to avoid the star trail. Okay? So this is one of the ways you can use this app to check the exposure time. And you can even check over here, star trail, how long you should shoot to get the number of how long is the star trail. So for example, this short timing, like 15, 20 minutes, you get this kind of short star trail. If you go for an hour plus to 2 hours, this is the length you do. So basically, this can help you estimate how long you want to shoot a star trail. And even for time lapse, from here you can calculate like how many shots I must do in order to capture maybe a video of around 30 seconds. Okay, so you can use one to estimate the time lapse as well. Okay, so
right.
So funny question about this app.
Yes, there are. And I think that this app is quite good because it gets updated pretty frequently. So in case if there are new cameras that come out into the market, you will actually find the camera model into the app in actually quite short, quite a short time. You will actually see updated. So Ping Xiong, we have a question from Jia Ying. Okay, Jia Ying is actually asking, what is the light blue and the red line represent? On that app where you show the moon. Yeah.
Okay,
So
the light blue is the moonrise direction.
Okay.
The dark blue is the moonset direction.
Okay, how about the red one?
It's the sun. The red sunset direction. Yellow one is the sunrise direction.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. Jia Ying, does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Do we have any other questions in regards to this application from our friends here? Yeah, as you can see that you can really do a lot with this. So even as you scroll down, Peng Xiong, you can just scroll up and down to let us see the various options that is available. So you can also see like the sun, you know, the exposure, you can check that, the depth of field, for example. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of things, the hyperfocal table. Yeah. So to understand all these terms, unfortunately, I think that you need to read up a little bit on the understanding the terminology. But this application will basically be able to help you when you're, especially when you're out there in the field. And then you can use this app to help you save up on a lot of the calculations, in fact. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we have one more question asking, can a Milky Way shot be done in a light polluted foreground? I think you have done this before, but let's answer this once again for our friends so that you know, I think this will be really, really helpful. Okay.
Okay, it can be done, but up to a certain extent. Then make sure there is like, just try to avoid the light pollution so much that I have a spotlight shining at the sky. Then maybe you will not have a nice exposure at all. So even though it's light polluted, minimum is that there's no cloud, any trace of cloud on the sky, clear sky, and there's no spotlight shining onto the sky. Then there's a high chance you can shoot in a light polluted area.
Okay, thanks, Peng Xiong. What about specifically if it's a light polluted foreground? How would you go about doing a shot like that?
Okay, with the polluted foreground is very bright, so it was typically the foreground exposure difference maybe will be like 3 to 4 stop difference. So you could use a GND filter, which is a gradual neutral density filter, by placing the darker portion covering the foreground and the transparent portion covering the sky. Or you can use another filter called night light filter from this NISI.
Okay, the night filter. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So in that case, that means you use a gradual neutral density to darken out the dark part, to darken out the
Foreground.
polluted foreground,
Yes.
and then the clear part is for the sky. So this kind of like balance of the exposure for the entire picture.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
typically the darker part is a 3 to 4 stop difference.
So are there any other ways you can go about doing this? Maybe taking a shot of the foreground first in correct exposure, and then take the sky, and then you stack them together in a software.
You could do that, but just that you have to need more Photoshop editing skills.
Okay.
Yeah, if you use the filter, you can skip the part on editing much.
Right. Okay. So I hope that answered the question. You see, the interesting about photography is that there are many creative ways to solve the challenge, you know. So it really depends on the method that you want to choose or employ. But then obviously there's always the Photoshop or the Lightroom to fall back to. But for maybe our new friends in photography, it may be good to really master all this technique on site. You know, and then next time for other situation, maybe like landscape or anything else, you will still be able to use the same filters to achieve that effect, and also to really learn more about how your camera actually behave. Yeah, so I think that's our advice for you actually. Thank you, Peng Xiong. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So are there any other questions? If not, yeah, Peng Xiong, we can move on to the next segment.
Okay, let me show you an app on this Stellarium as well on how you can do it for use for planning.
Okay, nice.
So for Stellarium, basically, you could touch on this square where you can choose. You can set a time that you want to see the Milky Way. For example, I'm planning for next year, somewhere in May, maybe June. Then the timing, okay? I set this timing. Then I can set the location. So maybe I don't use GPS. I want to maybe plan to go somewhere in maybe give a country, maybe in Australia, anywhere in Australia. Okay. Okay. So we just set. I could see that the Milky Way is something like this, okay, at the timing. Okay, so I can from there I can plan. Oh, this I can see the Milky Way at this timing. So, but if I want to see a different angle, so how should I do it? I can touch on the screen itself, on this timing itself. Okay, the timing. I can move. You can see I can see the timing of the Milky Way at different timing, how you behave, at which angle you will be at which timing. So basically, you can use this as well to estimate and plan on the phone. Okay, you can do it on the PC and do it on the phone as well. Okay, let's get out from here. Okay, so from this one, you can even see the direction. Like in Australia, you will see more in the east direction, okay, rather than the southeast. Okay, so you can actually use this to plan exactly how it's like. Okay, so go back to my this slides. I don't know why I can't see my mouse. Am I sharing?
Yes, it's back now.
Okay. Hey, so this Milky Way app that I use, which basically is just these two, okay, and it's quite useful. You can have it both on Android and iPhone. Okay, so not an issue. Okay. Then when you're on site, okay, weather is always a concern. Whether is it good weather or no good weather to shoot. Okay, so basically, there's a few apps you can try. Okay, as a rough gauge of the weather during the time. You can do it maybe a few days before you're on site, or you can do it on the day itself. Okay, so weather radar is one of the free apps I can download to check the weather, which is quite accurate. Okay, and there's also this rain alarm, which is useful as well to check for rain, clouds, all this. Okay, you can see from the scale here, there's this like this from light to heavy rain or clouds. Okay, so from here you can see the density of this thing. Okay, so basically these two apps is very useful for on-site checking of the weather. Okay, then when you're on-site, basically there's also you need to know where the Milky Way is and confirm where it is. Okay, so these are the few apps that you can use, okay, to check on the Milky Way itself. Okay, so for this few apps, maybe I can share with you how basically how I use it to check. Okay, let me show it with you to you. Okay, so for this app, as you can see, I have this star chart. Star chart basically is useful for when you're on site. Okay, when you're on site, it's useful. Okay, so you can must check you're using your GPS to make sure you're at the correct location. Okay, once you're at the location correctly, then you can see from here. Okay, at this location, this timing, the Milky Way will be at this angle. See? So basically, it's good to see live for you to see live when you're there, just to confirm where you are. So it's very important to set the correct location. The GPS and the compass is correct. Then you can check on site. Okay, where you'll be facing, just to confirm where is which angle. Okay, so basically this app is useful in this when you're on site. Okay, let me show you another app which is Stellarium. That's how I show you right on how to do planning. But you can also use it to check on site where exactly the Milky Way is by touching the squares here. Okay, touch the square here. You go to set the timing to be now. Set to now. Okay, set to now. Okay, then you go back and check the location. Make sure you use GPS. Okay, so once you use GPS, means that you're on the location itself. Okay, then you go back here. You know there's a handphone signal symbol on the right bottom second corner. You touch on that one. Okay, this will set it to live. So basically, you can live and see where exactly the Milky Way is now. You can see for mine, I'm facing the Milky Way at this timing. Okay, Milky Way is just in front of me. So basically, my house is facing southeast direction. Okay?
Right.
Milky Way is now facing there. Okay? So this is how we can use these two apps to check the current location. So even for photo peel, there's also an option to check that as well. Okay, photo peel, let me on photo peel itself. Sorry, let me on my photo peel.
Sure. So folks, if you have any questions so far, please key them into the chat, and then we will take them along and answer them, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, photo peel got this thing called night and AR. So basically you go to here, you must check a setting, make sure it's correctly it's set to a location using GPS. Okay, auto update. So it's using GPS. If you don't use auto update, you can set a location you want to see for planning. Okay, so it's set to auto update. This is current location and the date, current date and time. Okay, done. So from here you go out, you can see the photo peel. Okay, see now it's I'm making it facing my direction. Okay, and you can even check at different timing for this current location. Where would the Milky Way be? If for example, if I set to this maybe at night, 9 p.m., where would it be? So basically, you'll be somewhere on this side.
Mm.
Yeah. So you can even check the timing from there. So if you're that early, you can even estimate what time the angle of the Milky Way will be. See, will change. Okay. So PhotoPil can do this as well, and it's very useful for when you're on site. Okay, so let me switch back to my slides. Sorry for switching the screens here and there. Okay, so these apps are very useful. Okay, Star Chart basically is free. They have the free version and paid version. Stellarium basically have to pay. PhotoPil also have to pay. Yeah, these two Sky map is is free. Okay, so for the apps on the phone itself, it's useful when you're planning and you're on site. Okay, but when you come back with the photos that you have taken, so what are the software you need to use to edit? Okay, currently my software that I use for my editing is Photoshop. But Photoshop, there's a lot of complicated functions in it, and it's not easy to learn. So if you're new to Photoshop, it will take some time to learn how to use Photoshop. But trust me, this software, once you start using it and you use the function more, you will get a hang of it, and it's quite easy to use. Okay? I do have a workshop after my trips to at least teach you how to edit your Milky Way. Okay? Then if you find that Photoshop is too difficult to use, you can try Lightroom. Lightroom basically is much more simpler than Photoshop. Okay, but the thing is that in Lightroom, you could not do things like layers. You can't stack photos together. Okay, if you want to do stacking of photos, Photoshop is the better software to use. Lightroom basically let you do editing using sliders, left and right. Okay, so it's very easy to use. Okay, there's a lot of YouTube video online. Okay, then there's also a software called Starry Landscape Stacker. Okay, this is useful if you, for example, in one of my sessions, I told you that it's good to take two shots, one of the Milky Way and one of the foreground with a brighter exposure. So normally if you take a longer exposure to get the brighter foreground, your sky will be, your star will be trail. Okay, so for that, you can use this software to merge these two photos for you in a few simple steps without having to know Photoshop at all. So it's a tool that is quite useful if you want to cut away the learning curve in Photoshop. You can use this software. It's a paid software as well. It's useful for this. You can even stack a few Milky Way shots to you to combine to give you a better Milky Way shot as well. So this Starry Landscape Stacker is quite useful. Okay. And Star Stacks. I use Star Stacks mainly to do this star trail. Okay, it helps to create a star trail photo faster and easier. Okay, but the main thing is that for this one, you have to make sure you convert all your photo to JPEG first. and put it in one single folder so that when you pick up all the photos in the folder and create star trail for you. And Star Stacks can even create special effect like giving you a comet star trail, which means you will have a thicker star and a thinner trail at the back. So basically, it gives you special effects as well. And you also have features to help you fill in the gaps for the star trail. So sometimes you may have some small gap in between. So this guy can fill out the gap for you. So it's very useful for this software as well. And it's free. Okay? And if you do take panoramas for Milky Way, okay, you need to use a good software to stitch them up. Okay. So far, I find that Photoshop doesn't do a good stitching for Milky Way shots. Okay. So I've tried a few software, and I used GigaPen before. I also use PT GUI. Okay, PT GUI also a good software to do panel stitching for this Milky Way. Okay, later I'll show you some examples. And you will also want to use Topaz denoise, okay, to denoise your foreground. Because night photography with long exposure and high ISO, normally you have a very noisy foreground. So this software, what I normally use is to denoise my foreground so that I can stack with my Milky Way. Okay? And it's also a paid software. Okay, let me share with you a few samples. Okay, so for panorama shot, okay, this is a typical. This is a shot taken stitched by this PT GUI. This is stitched by this taken by this GigaPen, and this is by Photoshop. So you see Photoshop. Basically, you can see that the right side of the sky is a bit up. So I still prefer the PT GUI and the GigaPen. Okay. Then there's also other stitch I have. This is stitched by Photoshop, and it gives me this kind of shot. It's useless. But if I use to use this GigaPen, I still manage to salvage and get a better stitch. Okay? And if I use PT GUI, this is the stitch I get. So from conclusion is that PT GUI and GigaPen can give me a better stitch than Photoshop. So if you were to use do panorama, this is the software you must have. Okay, and if you were to do time lapse, okay, I use this Star Stacks to give me this effect. Create photos that can do this effect. Okay, because the Star Stacks allow to create all these photos into every pictures and combine them into a video and create this effect. So it's very useful. If you do it in Photoshop, you can do also, but a lot of steps and very tedious. But Star Stacks do it in the simplest way for you. Okay, so for post-processing, if you do a lot of time lapse, okay, panel lapse is a very useful software as well. Because if you were to use Photoshop to do a time lapse video for you, okay, with the shot that you have, this is the normal way you will get the time lapse video. Okay, the photo you created, you can get the normal time lapse video like this. But if you use panel lapse, you could do this. You could do panning within the photo itself. So it means you can actually do panning within the photo itself. It's the same set of photos. You can do this. Okay? So panel lapse is quite useful. And if you were to do time lapse, basically you need to have Final Cut Pro or QuickTime Pro. Basically, this software is for you to combine the few time lapse video you have and add in music, add in text. Like the video you see before it came in. And I think Julian, you played the video to sound right.
Yeah. So basically, this Final Cut Pro and QuickTime Pro is Apple, right? I mean, it's Mac based.
QuickTime, I think maybe PC have.
You also have PC, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So instead of Final Cut Pro, I think you can also use Adobe Premiere, but then it's quite difficult to learn. You know, those,
Yes.
yeah, the Adobe suite of software is actually quite difficult to learn, you know, and to use, and you must always constantly practice. So the more you practice, the better you will become, and then you will find that it's actually quite good after a while. Mm.
If you use PC, there's also a Power Director.
A Power Director. Okay.
Power Director, or this if you iMac, there's a free version called iMovie. You can use that as well. But the output cannot go as high res as the one that you get in this Final Cut Pro.
Mm. Yeah. In fact, I think that this session has saved our friends a lot of time, you know, to go out and explore each and every application. And what you covered today has basically helped us quite a bit. So I think that you know by now what are the software that you can look at in terms whether you are using an Android phone or iPhone, you know, or even on the PC. There are actually many options that you can look at. Yeah. So yeah, okay. Are there
I have,
any? Yes.
that's all I have for the apps. Okay, one thing I
Okay.
forgot to mention just now is that this Topaz Denoise basically is a plugin for either Photoshop or Lightroom. So you must have the software with basic software before you can use Topaz Denoise.
Okay, yeah. So it is a plugin for Lightroom or Photoshop. But I think the thing is that Topaz Denoise is also a standalone application, right? Okay, that you can purchase. Yeah. So it's at topazlabs.com.
Just Google Topaz Denoise.
Yeah. But this Denoise software is actually, I mean personally, my own personal preference, I think that this is one of the best out there, you know, in terms of AI denoising. So this is something that you can look at. In normal days, I believe this is $79.90 US for the software. But keep a lookout. I believe, like for example, Halloween or some other Thanksgiving Day or what, you know, on the US calendar, you will then have a discount, and sometimes the discount can be up to 50%. So what you need to do is that you can just download first, go and try for 30 days, you know, and then you find that you like it, and by the time comes up for you to sign up, okay, you can just ignore that until you get a discount. Just sign to the newsletter. When they have a discount, they will tell you, and then you can buy the software then. Okay, yeah. So that is basically, I think, a tip that we can offer to you.
I think the next year will be Black Friday, right?
Oh yeah. So I think that one is coming up very soon. So keep a lookout for that. Okay, yeah. And it's definitely worth it. If you look at the Topaz Labs series, there's a lot of software over there that personally, I don't know for Peng Xiong, but personally for me, I use quite a bit of them. And I find them easier, okay, than Photoshop. Photoshop, you can definitely do more because Photoshop is the sky is the limit. You know, your imagination and creativity is your limit. For things like, for example, Topaz software, it's basically more on doing things really fast, you know, and letting the computer or the AI do most of the work.
Yes, just move sliders only.
Yeah,
just move a few sliders left or right.
Yeah, so maybe for beginners or for people looking at really saving time and not spending too much time on your computer doing all this work, you can seriously look at like Topaz. I think the other one is Lumina 4.0. Yeah, that you can also look at that. So they have things like the sky replacement, you know, yeah, which is quite a big thing, and I'm sure you can read up a lot more in Google. Okay, so if you Google for Lumina, Luminar, and yeah, just Google that, and then you will be able to find. Okay, yeah. So are there any other questions from our friends here today? Thank you everyone for joining us, and I can really see a lot of our regulars. Thank you so much for all your support. Yeah. So just be reminded that next week will be our very last session. So we are covering about the tips and tricks of practical astrophotography based on Peng Xiong's experience, right? And we have a ask you anything kind of session, okay, or ask us rather, on astrophotography. Okay, but remember, just keep the subject to astrophotography. Don't ask us anything else. Okay. Peng Xiong, do you have a girlfriend, for example?
I cannot
Okay.
have girlfriend.
Yeah, okay. So yes, we have a question from Waven. Waven is actually asking, will you guys be covering more tips on lenses, etc.? Yeah, we can actually cover that next week. Okay, if you were to join us next week, during the Ask Us Anything session, we can actually just go through that again. Or if you have just some questions that you want to ask about astrophotography, we thought that it may be good to do something like a session like that, because we also have some of our friends who join us halfway throughout the series, you know, so that would be kind of good for you guys, especially if you still have questions that you want to ask. Okay, yeah, and we are seriously, Peng Xiong, we are seriously looking towards going out pretty soon. Hopefully we can go to Mersing very soon, because Malaysia is looking at opening up the borders, right, in January with Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully by then everything is safe, and then you know, and we'll, of course, we'll be doing all our necessary precaution, right? And then we can travel up in Peng Xiong's luxury outfit. Yeah, well sanitized, and you know, just keep within the group. I think we'll be,
And a lot of space.
oh yeah, and a lot of space, yes. And then we have really all the time in the world to do that. Yeah, and also catch up with our friends face to face. I think this is also something that all of us miss a lot, traveling and also being able to go out there to do astrophotography, right? So yeah, and any other questions? Do we have any other questions out there? Okay. So I hope that this session today is really beneficial to you all. And yes, Waven, we hear you. Yes, we also want practical session, and that will happen very soon. You know, once we are able to get out there, I'm sure Peng Xiong will be very happy to do that. Okay.
I'm eager to leave Singapore as well.
Oh yeah, he's very eager to leave as well. Yeah, I believe that too. Wafer is saying that if not catch no ball, you know what? I agree with that. No matter how much you do online, you know, it's still a very theory lesson. You know, it's only where we go out there, and on the spot we see the actual thing, and we try with our camera. And that is what photography is about, right? Photography is really about playing with your camera. So we really need to go out there and really do it on the spot. So let's look forward to that day where we can really do that. And I'm sure that day won't be too long away. Okay, so that's also the reason why we are doing all these webinars. We just hope to get people prepared first, at least to a certain extent. And then when you guys are ready, we will definitely go out. Okay, yeah. So finally, last 20 seconds, do we have more questions coming in? If not, we are going to end this session. And this is beautifully done. It's 47 minutes for now. Yeah, so we still keep within our time limit of 45 minutes to 1 hour. Okay, yeah. So, right, okay. Thank you, Alice. You are most welcome. And we hope that the apps that Peng Xiong shared today will basically benefit not only you, but also all our friends here today. And if you want to catch back on this recording, you can basically subscribe to our YouTube channel at Top Liners Club. Okay, you go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel at Top Liners Club, and you can basically replay this over and over again. Okay, yeah. So, okay, and thank you, everyone. I don't see more questions now. And as always, thank you, Peng Xiong, for your unselfish sharing. Yeah, we really learned a lot from you today. And here, I also, on behalf of everyone, all our hosts, including Ming, and I want to wish everyone a great week ahead, okay? And please come and join us next week again, okay? That will be our final week. And see you, okay? See you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.